Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right now on the National Weather Desk, more severe weather, including possible tornadoes and hail, is expected across the country today, even as communities clean up following last Friday's outbreak.
It's just really hard to understand that one moment they're there and the next moment they're gone.
Why didn't the National Weather Service issue a tornado watch in Michigan before that deadly twister?
This storm went from 0 to 100 extremely quickly.
Spring-like weather brings ice jams and the threat of flooding to New England.
And it's always scary, though. It's always very scary.
A closer look at how airlines de-ice their planes.
And it works really well as long as you stay within those holdover times.
And the record warm winter in a most unusual place.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Millions of Americans are bracing for another day of severe storms across the nation's midsection. It's a large area stretching from southern Texas to the Great Lakes. Two regions in orange are under a level 3 out of 5 risk: Texas, including Dallas, and the Midwest, including Chicago. The much larger area in yellow faces a slightly lower risk of tornadoes, very large hail and damaging winds. The Storm Prediction Center expects one more day of severe weather tomorrow, with a level 2 risk from Texas to the mid-Atlantic, and that includes Columbus, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and Nashville. And those storms come as people in Oklahoma and Michigan are still cleaning up following Friday's tornado outbreak. 6 people lost their lives as the twisters downed trees and damaged homes. This morning we have reports from 2 of the hardest hit communities. In a moment we'll take you to Beggs, Oklahoma, but we begin with Autumn Pitshore in Union City, Michigan.
It's huge. It's unbelievable.
Ryan Palmerton says he's never seen anything like it in his life, coming outside to a massive tornado across the lake tearing through Union City. His Aunt Penny Jo Guthrie was front of mind, her house right in the path of destruction. Driving over, Palmerton says it looked like a war zone and that he couldn't even make out his aunt's home as there was virtually nothing left besides her deck. Finding out she didn't make it.
It's unreal. You can't fathom, an instant death like that. You just can't understand that it's happened.
Guthrie was one of 3 people who were killed in the EF3 tornado, including 54-year-old Carrie Ann Johnson and 63-year-old William Andrew Acker.
They saw it hit my grandson Cody's house. They knew his house was gone. They watched it come down the road.
When the storm approached, Norma says she ran across the street to her daughter Julie's home, where the family sheltered in the basement. When they came back outside, the damage was overwhelming. Her garage is gone, the family car damaged, and a part of the back deck ripped away. Cleanup is already underway. Strangers, locals, utility crews, plumbers, and telecommunication workers from nearby cities and townships have been helping restore services, while volunteers deliver water, hot meals, and supplies to families working through the debris.
When the EF3 tornado hit Beggs Friday night, the middle school campus took a direct hit. But just before the storm hit, school leaders opened the campus storm shelter for the community.
About 7 o'clock, around that time frame, people started flooding in. We had about 75 people in here. They had about 100 in the elementary. It was opened a little bit earlier than this one was. So all ages, we're talking infants all the way to the elderly, were in here, bunkered down.
Classrooms were damaged, technology labs destroyed, and parts of the cafeteria and gymnasium lost major sections of the roof. At the same time, the storm also wiped out another critical part of the district, their entire bus fleet. Beggs schools had switched to all-electric buses just a few years ago, and those buses were plugged in when the storm hit, frying the entire system.
So we've had surrounding districts also reach out to us about maybe borrowing some buses. The Creek Nation has also talked about maybe being able to get some buses and everything like that.
Despite the damage, school officials say they are trying to keep students on a normal schedule.
We've kind of been assured by the restoration crew that if they had 2 weeks with nobody on campus, they could have us back up and running in some capacity after spring break.
Last Friday, Michigan was under a marginal or very slim risk for severe weather officially. Governor Gretchen Whitmer is now calling for an investigation into why a tornado watch was not issued. And Shelby Whitaker got some answers from the National Weather Service.
With this storm in particular, it spun up very quickly. And in fact, one of the fatalities that had occurred, that tornado initiated almost on his property, unfortunately. And what we were looking at is our first tornado warning was issued at 3:14, and the tornado likely began around about 5 minutes before that.
The severity of Friday's tornadoes coming as a surprise for many. While the area was under a marginal risk, there was only a 2% chance of tornadoes within a 25-mile radius of any one location.
And to be honest, the overall ingredients of this day was not particularly impressive. It was just that very micro scale interaction between that warm front that made a simple severe thunderstorm go to a deadly significant tornado producer rather quickly.
But some questioning if that wasn't the only reason for a delay. In a statement to the Detroit News, Michigan Governor Whitmer's office calling for an investigation into the National Weather Service's delay of a tornado watch and its relation to federal cuts.
I'm always fine with the government checking in and seeing if we can make improvements. What I don't want is somebody to try to suggest there needs to be an investigation for political purposes.
Unfortunately, sometimes this happens. This storm went from 0 to 100 extremely quickly.
Flood watches remain in effect through Thursday across much of Vermont. Spring-like weather brings rain, snowmelt, and ice jams to the Green Mountain State. Those ice jams can easily clog rivers, sending water spilling into neighborhoods. Abigail Sachs has details.
The Mad River's flow coming to a halt in this spot as ice builds up quickly and blocks the way.
We've seen this several times here, so unfortunately we're a little bit used to it, and it's always scary though. It's always very scary because you never know when it's going to end.
The National Weather Service issued a flood warning for this ice jam in the Mad River and also in the Au Sable in the North Country of New York. Ice jams by nature can be very rapid and very quick onset and very difficult to predict.
Turn around, don't drown.
Fred Messer is the director of Waitsfield Emergency Management and has been tracking the ice buildup all day.
What's concerning me right now is that the water is leaving the channel, flowing through this parking lot and down. You just can't plan that it's always like going to jump back into the river.
Emergency officials are urging people that live near the river to have a go bag ready and an escape route planned if you need to evacuate. You know, Mother Nature is going to do what she's going to do. So it's just a matter of waiting and see how much the rivers rise. The National Weather Service says the possibility of an ice jam happening is above normal for the next 2 weeks.
A waterfall at a popular park in Utah is flowing again, and it's a rare thing. Park officials say it's only happened 4 times in 15 years. But as Samantha Hoffman reports, there are still some big concerns about the area's water supply.
The Gunlock Falls are expected to flow for the next few weeks.
I was surprised that it was going this year without all the water we haven't had.
Corey Cram with the Water Conservancy District says the reservoir is at 106% capacity.
It does give a false sense of how well we're doing in the river system because this was a result of big precipitation events that don't do us that much in the watershed.
Cram says while storms wash through the system, snow melts slowly, offering a continuous water supply. But he calls this year's snow levels discouraging.
Quail Creek and Sand Hollow reservoirs in particular are going to be about 70% of normal. And so the year started out pretty pathetic, one of our worst on record.
While they feel they have enough water to last the next year, the district says they'll need users to make conscious water decisions moving forward.
Is there a potential of using excess water here for other parts of the county?
In the future, probably 10 years down the road, we are working on plans to take wastewater and turn that into reuse water that can be used for agriculture. And then in turn, some of this water will be freed up and we will treat that for drinking water for use on the west side of the county.
Even if it's not the sign they wanted, hikers are enjoying the phenomenon.
I love the scenery. I love all the different falls. And it's great to see all the people out here taking advantage of this wonderful, beautiful falls that is just so unique. I love it.
Now check out this spectacular sight over Providence, Rhode Island this morning. Low-level fog led to a partial undercast effect, and this happens during an inversion when the temperature at higher elevations is warmer than what's below, trapping the low-level clouds at the bottom with the buildings getting very high above it. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, how airlines keep your plane safe and free from ice and snow. Plus the record warm winter in a place you might least expect it.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. It is going to be a warm day, certainly by March standards in the Northeast. Today we're topping out in the 60s and 70s. It's going to be a beautiful day for most areas. Let's take you to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's still bright and it's still pretty warm, but we're tracking a front to our northwest. That front is slowly going to work its way into, well, New England and parts of New York on Wednesday with some showers, maybe a rumble of thunder, and there could be some freezing rain in northern New England.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Mostly sunny as we get through your Tuesday afternoon. Warmer as we head through the day. Just a stray shower possible. Some better chances of rain to likely come through Wednesday afternoon with a band of showers and storms possible, and they could be on the strong side. Warm as we head through your afternoon. Mid-70s, even close to the 80s in some spots. Getting into Wednesday, still a very warm day before some colder air likely rolls into the region.
Hi, meteorologist Jennifer Collins with a look at your southeast forecast. A warm Tuesday afternoon across the southeast. Temperatures running in the upper 70s and low 80s across the Carolinas, with a mid to upper 80s across parts of central and south Florida. More sunshine in store for the Sunshine State heading into Tuesday. Low rain chance for the Carolinas. Additional cloud cover with best chance for rain west of the Mississippi through Wednesday, with additional cloud cover across the northern Gulf Coast through Wednesday afternoon.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
This winter has been one for the record books in Rapid City, South Dakota, but it's not because of cold and snow. Meteorologist Ryan Hill reports the season has actually been unusually warm.
This snow measurement board tells the story of this winter better than any statistic can. There is nothing on it. Rapid City averaged 34.7 degrees this season, the warmest winter since records began in the late 1800s, and 0.2 degrees warmer than the previous record set in 1930.
This tells the whole picture of the story. Dry grass. And look at this t-shirt.
It has been quite dry. The city saw just 6.5 inches of snow and only 0.6 of an inch of precipitation, about half of what's normal. And that lack of snow is now creating a serious problem heading into spring.
The problem that we've had this winter was the lack of snowfall that would actually lay those grasses down, which would reduce our fire risk.
Smith explains that a La Nina pattern typically causes the jet stream, the flow of air guiding storms in their paths and separating polar air from temperate or tropical air to shift south. However, this pattern was pushed eastward throughout winter as La Nina weakened, resulting in the Black Hills being warmer and drier than usual. Currently, with grasslands parched and spring winds increasing, forecasters warn that the fire risk is extremely high.
We're getting into kind of our shoulder season for fire weather. It's typically the time of the year that we see before green up. Our grassland fire danger has been extremely high lately because of that lack of snowfall.
Smith says we have a possibility of the jet stream shifting in our favor to give us more moisture out of the Pacific and Gulf of America. For now, she warns that reservoirs across the Black Hills are short on winter recharge, and that problem could be made worse by El Nino contributing to a drier summer and fall.
And as temperatures warm, officials are warning about ice dangers on the Great Lakes. Right now is the beginning of what folks in Wisconsin call the ice rescue season. Meteorologist Audrey Lay has more.
Brown County Emergency Management says ice conditions can change quickly this time of year.
We're seeing more open water, more to the north. So the further north you move, we're starting to see ice flows happen up there, and you can kind of see it on the satellite imagery. Treat it all as unsafe until proven otherwise.
If you have plans to head out on the ice over the next few days, you need to keep a close eye on the conditions. Captain John Russo with the Brown County Sheriff's Office says, quote, "We have not seen any ice rescues this season that require any of the specialized teams," end quote. However, this is the time of the year when calls start to pick up.
This is kind of the start of ice flow season, the start of water ice rescue season. That's why it's really important for folks to understand that this is not something that just happens every once in a while. This happens every year.
And when snow and freezing rain hit, getting a plane safely off the ground comes down to one thing: de-icing. It's a tightly timed process that crews cannot afford to get wrong. Retired airline captain and aviation safety expert Stephen Green spoke to meteorologist Emily Gracie to explain how it works and how past icing disasters reshape the rules every winter flight now follows.
It's really easy to think that the ice you have is okay because you're not aware of any handling changes or behavioral changes in the airplane. And you won't be necessarily until you get to that critical angle of attack. And that varies depending on the ice shape and how much you have and so on and so forth. That's what makes it a real threat.
Can you take me through what kind of currently happens as far as this from the passengers' perspective?
Sure.
Like goop is flying out the window. That's what we see. Can you tell me from a pilot's perspective what's actually happening here?
So the idea there is we've got snow falling or freezing precipitation of some type is falling. It's adhering to the wing. So it's creating a layer of ice, and we can't have that. And we typically do this in a two-step process. We use what we call type 1 fluid to remove the snow and ice that's on the wing. And then we apply a type 4 fluid, which is a very thick fluid that creates a layer that sits on the wing. And the idea behind this is it absorbs falling precipitation during the time the airplane is outside before it takes off. So we have what we call a holdover time, which is in these conditions at this temperature, how long is this fluid going to be good for? And we've got all that data in the cockpit. So we know what time we were de-iced. The de-ice administrator on the ground is going to talk to us and say, we completed this application at this and this time, and we start the clocks and so forth. So then what happens is when we get out to take off, as we accelerate down the runway, that fluid shears off the top of the wing. And it works really well as long as you stay within those holdover times. And this is where, you'll have, long lines for departure. And sometimes passengers will experience this where they think they're about ready to go. And then the captain has to come on and say, sorry, folks, but we've exceeded the holdover time for the de-icing. We got to go back and do it again. And, those nights get ugly.
To hear the full conversation, including a look back at the crashes that changed aviation history and the safety standards built from them, listen to the latest episode of our podcast, Off the Radar. It's available now on all major podcast platforms.
The light bulb has transformed society, changing how we use energy. But like many great inventions, it wasn't the work of one inventor, and its story began more than 150 years ago. The traditional light bulb can still be found in your kitchen appliances. They're widely used for stage, film, and photography lighting, in holiday lighting, and in heat lamps to keep livestock warm. However, when it comes to general household or even building lighting, energy-efficient LED alternatives are standard. But for many years, it was incandescent bulbs to light the way.
On October 21st, 1871, numerous experiments resulted in the production of a small unit lamp of comparatively enormous resistance.
Let's travel back in time all the way to Menlo Park, New Jersey on New Year's Eve in 1879. The brilliant American inventor Thomas Edison lit up his laboratory for all to see. After more than a year of experimentation, Edison figured out how to conduct electricity with a high electrical resistance to illuminate a bulb without breaking or burning it. The beginning of a new era for America and the world. The breakthrough of Edison's bulb improved upon the ideas of previous inventors. As early as 1835, British inventors were demonstrating that electric light was possible with the arc lamp. For the next 40 years, scientists around the world worked on the incandescent lamp and tinkered with the filament up until Edison's success, meaning that the first practical, commercially viable light bulb was made in America. Before the light bulb, electricity was mostly a lab curiosity. But once homes and public spaces could be lit on demand, electricity became essential. And with constant energy innovation, America's future is still getting brighter. For Amazing America, I'm Taylor Murray with the National News Desk.
We'd love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back.
Well, a very good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Mike. We got a chance for some snow across the upper Midwest and then some strong thunderstorms developing out across the central portions of the Midwest for the day today and into tonight. Those will slowly work their way into the Ohio Valley for the day tomorrow. Got some snow up there across the northern Great Lakes. And then for your Thursday, a little quieter and cooler with more rain-snow mix to the north.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. We're starting off early this morning into the 70s for the most part, all the way back on up into Dallas. That's lots of moisture there. We're watching a system approaching. That could mean some pretty big showers to start off the day. Back out from Dallas into Oklahoma City and continuing on out toward the region to the east. Otherwise, going to be a really warm day. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Good Tuesday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Stella Sun. You can expect spotty showers through parts of the Pacific Northwest with heavy mountain snow expected through the Cascades and windy conditions for the northern Rockies. Showers will be shaking out in portions of southern New Mexico with daytime highs climbing into the 70s for Albuquerque, 67 degrees later today in San Diego, middle 40s for Spokane through Boise and in Seattle, and 64 in LA.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Wildfire season is approaching, and one of the questions we want to answer today is, how do wildfires get their names? Here's meteorologist Joy Bettenhausen.
We've been dealing with fire threats and fire warnings, but have you ever thought about how wildfires are named? This graphic comes from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Now, the first responders on the scene are the ones who get to name these fires. Now, the wildfires usually get their names after a nearby road, trail, geographic feature, or landmark. Now, when you hear these wildfire names in the news or in your nearby town, you may be wondering, well, that's unique, and that's the point. They don't want duplicate names. They don't want crazy creative names. They want something that's going to make sense to the area, and so folks in that area can follow the news, especially when they hear that wildfire being mentioned.
As we go to break, here's a taste of the Caribbean as we check out the island of Barbados. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Make it a great day. We'll see you right back here tomorrow for the National Weather Desk.